Izumi is a gloomy antisocial emo who has no life or friends, however his life takes a turn when the most popular girl notices that under the emo act, he's actually a Gojo Satoru level of handsome. Now she will do anything to get his attention before all the girls of the school fight for his 6 inches. Before they meet, it was the middle of the semester, and everyone in class heard the same thing from the teacher, who told them to enjoy their last summer freely. The girls start talking about hanging out after school. Yuki the blonde tells her friend Kyuko, the popular one, that another boy asked for her number, and rejects the simp's attempt, as he has no guts to ask her himself. When Kyuko stands up to leave, her phone slips, and lands right in front of Izumi, the suspicious emo guy in class, and he picks it up for her. When he leaves, people whisper that Izumi's a geek, maybe even a crazy otaku, but no one really knows what goes on behind those long curtain bangs of his. Then Kyuko goes home, but unlike other popular girls, Kyuko doesn't have the luxury to hang out with her friends and talk about cute boys. She spends her time taking care of her little brother, living a humbly home life. Later that day, when her little brother Shota comes home, blood drips from his nose. Kyuko rushes to him, only to realize someone else brought him back. A handsome guy stands there, emo-looking and full of piercings. He's ready to leave now that Shota is safe, but Shota holds on to him, and Kyuko asks him to stay a moment so she can thank him. They sit down, and the guy says he's impressed that Kyuko can manage the house all by herself. Suddenly, Kyuko realizes that the guy calls her by her name, and even knows her school and class. She asks if they go to the same school, and he answers casually that he's Izumi. Kyuko can't believe that the suspicious quiet guy in class isn't a creepy shut-in who goons a lot, but instead a handsome cool emo. The next day, she's still in disbelief, and Yuki notices her weird mood, but Kyuko just stands up and does something no one expects, walking straight over, and talking to Izumi. On a quiet balcony, Kyuko and Izumi talk. She says Shota wants him to come visit again, and Izumi is surprised she talks to him again after yesterday. She admits it's a little awkward, but that there's no reason to avoid him. She saw how different he was outside school, and she knows firsthand that she's not that different herself. Izumi smiles, feeling honestly flustered, as he's not used to someone treating him so casually. Kyuko tells him it's no big deal, and even suggests that he style his hair the way he did yesterday, but Izumi refuses, as his piercings would show if he tied it up. From then on it just became a routine where Izumi visits Kyuko's house after school, and during those first few visits, she learns a lot about Izumi, from how he likes manga, but he's not an obsessive otaku, how his family owns a cake shop, and how he got his first piercing in middle school, and how he's not actually smart despite the glasses. One day while Izumi's over, Kyuko looks at a supermarket pamphlet, and sees that eggs are on sale but the discount ends tomorrow. Izumi warns her that the deal ends at 4 p.m. sharp, but Kyuko is confident that she can make it, but the anime gods hate her and set her a meeting with the council. But not wanting to lose the deal, Kyuko texts Izumi to get the eggs, as she figures he'd come visit Shota anyway. He agrees, and with 20 minutes to spare, Izumi dashes out, changes his appearance mid-run, and jumps the back gate, right in front of Yuki, rizzing her accidentally. He manages to get the eggs, but after battling Karens for them, Izumi never wants to do it again, but Kyuko truly appreciates it. Izumi casually mentions running into Yuki, and he hopes she doesn't recognize him, but something in Kyuko's chest twists, and she doesn't want anyone to see that side of him. She blurts it out louder than intended, and then awkwardly runs to the kitchen, but Izumi understands. He tells her he doesn't want anyone to see her other side either, as the one who cooks, cleans, and gets mad at little things. He wants to keep that mama bear version of her all to himself, but Kyuko can't handle the honesty, and she smacks him as she's too flustered to hear that from him. Then gym class comes, and the students go swimming, but Izumi panics as it means that everyone will see his everything, including his tattoo. He shows it to her, a huge one, covering his left side, and Kyuko is speechless, thinking that he's either brave, or just dumb as bricks. Then in class, Yuki and Toru start noticing how close Kyuko and Izumi have become. Toru pulls Izumi aside, and casually asks if he's dating her, and Izumi immediately says no. Toru points out how different they are, and Izumi agrees half-heartedly. Izumi then guesses that Toru likes Kyuko, and he admits that he does, which puts both guys stuck in awkward conversations, until their friend Shu calls them to get ready for gym class. While changing, Toru asks why Izumi always wears a jacket, and not wanting to get pressed further, Izumi shows him what he's been hiding. Toru flips, questioning how a guy like Izumi has a full tattoo. Toru starts examining him, from his nice face to his piercings, and wonders whether this bum is the kind of guy Kyuko likes. The two end up talking more than expected, and Toru promises to keep Izumi's tattoo a secret, but he can't help wondering how they got so close. Izumi just says it's been that way for a while, and he thinks Kyuko is just being kind. After hearing that, Toru asks for permission to confess, and Izumi tells him it's up to Kyuko to choose. In the end, both boys skip gym class, leaving Yuki stuck with cleaning duty, and she is furious. Then, for the rest of the day, Izumi keeps his distance from Kyuko, as he knows how Toru has plans to meet Kyuko and confess to her after school. So he offers to pick up Shoujo instead, but leaves Kyuko for Toru, and he confesses to her. Back home, Izumi is getting ready to leave, when Kyuko comes home, but she's pissed after hearing that Izumi told Toru that she was just being kind to him. Izumi stands by his words, as he believes he's too different from her, and he's hurting her reputation just by being around. Suddenly, Kyuko snaps, and she smacks him again. She tells him that he matters more than he realizes, as he often helps her wake up early, makes sure no food gets wasted, and she likes being around him. And as for Toru, she tells Izumi that she turned him down. Days later, Kyuko takes Izumi out to buy groceries, and the two start to get really close. On their way back home, Kyuko sees an anime poster, and casually hums part of the theme song. Izumi notices and says she's surprisingly good at it. Kyuko awkwardly denies it by slapping him on the face, but Izumi doesn't even flinch anymore as he's gotten used to it. She explains it's because Shoujo always plays that song, so she just remembers it. But when Izumi asks what kind of songs she actually likes, she goes quiet, and the truth is, she doesn't really know any other songs besides the ones Shoujo always plays. Then, when Kyuko gets back home, she's surprised to find her mom there. As for once, their mom actually has time to come home. Shoujo tells her everything that's happened from the guy who saved him, how he's actually Kyuko's friend from school, and how he's always visiting their house now. When their mom asks Kyuko about this guy, Kyuko describes Izumi like he's a villain nutjob in a detective story, but their mom just laughs and becomes even more curious. She asks for his name, and that's when Kyuko realizes something strange, that she doesn't know Izumi's full name, and she's only ever called him by his last name. That tiny detail nags at her, and Kyuko hates being curious like this, but asking Izumi directly would mean setting aside her pride, so she refuses to do that. Then during gym class, she comes up with an idea, and as everyone's changing, Kyuko sneaks a peek into the boys' locker room, hoping to hear someone call Izumi by his full name. Shu catches her immediately. Yuki even calls her a bit of a degenerate, but Kyuko doesn't deny it. Later, she checks the list of top-ranking students, but remembers Izumi's a bit of a small brain, so there's no way his name is on that list. Just then, Toru pops up to greet her, and when Kyuko wants to ask him about Izumi, Toru gets reminded of his rejection, and runs away in tears. Then, at dinner, Kyuko can't stop thinking about Izumi's full name. Her mom suggests inviting him over, as it's the weekend after all, and she'd love to meet him properly. That gives Kyuko an idea that if he comes over, her mother can just ask him. The next day, Izumi shows up, and he's a little surprised by how enthusiastic Kyuko's mom is to meet him. She sends Kyuko out for groceries on purpose, just so she can speak to Izumi privately, and thank him for helping both Kyuko and Shoujo. When Kyuko returns, her mom's already gone back to work, and Shoujo is happily eating the cake Izumi brought from his family's shop. Izumi casually mentions that her mom called him by his first name, and Kyuko, suddenly curious, asks what name she used, but she didn't get an answer, and instead Izumi teases her saying she's been acting weird like when she was peeking into the boys' locker room. Then he asks if she has someone she likes in that locker room, but Kyuko doesn't want to admit anything, so she explains the truth. Izumi bursts out laughing, knowing that she did all that for his name. He borrows a pen, writes his full name on a tissue, and hands it to her, knowing that it's too awkward to call him by his first name. Kyuko sticks with his last name, then she throws it back at him, asking if he even knows her first name, and to her surprise, he does, which makes Kyuko feel a little childish, and they both end up laughing it off. A few days later, Kyuko gets a task from the student council, assigned by Kikuru and Sakura, who explain that since the new members can't handle it properly, they count on Kyuko, who's always reliable. She can't say no, so she agrees, and for days, she keeps doing the work, so much that even Yuki starts to worry. Toru and Izumi pity her from afar, but they can't even help, as they're both useless anyway. Izumi mentions that maybe Kyuko's doing all this for Kikuru's approval, as he is the smartest and hottest guy around. Just then, another council member, Remi, shows up and asks about the paperwork Kyuko is handling. After Kyuko hands her the documents, Yuki spills that Remi is just the useless council mascot who is Kikuru's girlfriend, and all of her responsibilities end up dumped on Kyuko. Kyuko agrees but doesn't protest, as after all, Remi wouldn't be able to do the job anyway. Seeing how drained Kyuko is, Izumi thinks about bringing her a cake after school, but suddenly Remi runs past him and accidentally drops a bunch of paperwork. Izumi helps her gather it, but she's in such a rush that she tells him to just toss the last one, thinking it's not important, and runs off. But Izumi holds onto it, knowing that it's not just trash. That night, Kyuko stays late, finishing the last of her paperwork, and the next morning disaster strikes. A crowd gathers in front of the classroom, and Izumi arrives to see Kyuko defending herself against the council. She says she submitted all the reports the council asked for, but Kikuru, Sakura, and Remi stand there, claiming they didn't receive anything from her. Yuki immediately pulls Izumi in, and Toru insists Kyuko is being wrongly accused. Kikuru claims that Remi never got the budget report, and accuses Kyuko of being sloppy. At first, Kyuko fights back, but eventually admits she's so tired she can't even remember how many reports she's finished. The whispers start, and everyone begins blaming her, taking the side of the all-popular Kikuru. Toru's already pissed, and Yuki steps up to defend her too, saying Kyuko has worked non-stop for days, but no one listens, and they still want her to apologize for something she didn't do. That's when Izumi steps in. He hands his bag and glasses to Toru, and walks up to Kikuru. Without a word he grabs Kikuru's tie and smashes their foreheads together. Everyone goes silent, and Kikuru is too stunned to speak. Izumi then pulls out the paper Remi dropped yesterday, and reveals that she told him to throw it away. Remi starts to deny it, but then remembers, realizing that she really did mess up. Her confidence crumbles, and she apologizes. Kikuru and Sakura prepare to scold her, and in the end, they all apologize to Kyuko for the morning chaos. Kyuko thanks Izumi, and Toru still asks why he had to headbutt Kikuru. Izumi just says he got pissed for a second, then he asks Kyuko why Kikuru seems to be her weakness. Kyuko looks away and awkwardly says it's because she respects the student council president, and also because they're childhood friends. She reveals that she always teased Kikuru since they were kids, but before graduating middle school, he said that if she didn't start treating him respectfully, he'd expose how bossy she really was, so she had no choice but to go along with it. The next day, Izumi becomes Kikuru's new fear, and she starts tweaking at the sight of him. Later, during gym class, Toru and Izumi play ping pong while casually talking about Kyuko's birthday, which happens during spring break. That night, Izumi seriously considers what to get Kyuko for her birthday. Meanwhile, Kyuko gets asked by Shoyuta if Izumi will keep visiting them, and she doesn't know the answer, which makes her question when he will stop visiting them. Shoyuta tells her he would be sad if Izumi stopped visiting, and Kyuko admits that she would feel the same way. Then, when her birthday arrives, Izumi comes to visit, and he brings her a CD full of his favorite songs, which, deep down, is exactly the present that she wanted, and just like that, her birthday also marks the end of spring break, which means their final year has officially begun. For the longest time, Izumi never likes the idea of school, friends, or teachers. Since he was a little jit, no one ever tries to get close to him. Even the teachers seem to isolate him on purpose, making groups in class just to show how unwanted he is. He carries that pain with him, and he makes his first piercing as a symbol of it. By high school, the whispers behind his back never stop, and he hears them all too clearly. But then, a girl talked to him, Kyuko, and she was the first person who ever tried to talk to him and treated him normally. Now in their third year, Izumi, Kyuko, Yuki, and Toru are still in the same class, and while the others chat casually excited about all of them being in the same class, Izumi still wonders whether he really belongs in this group. When the teacher announces a group project, Izumi braces himself for the worst, remembering how he used to be the odd one out. But then, without hesitation, Kyuko, Toru, and Yuki gather around him to make a group of 4, which is something he had never had before. At lunch, Izumi slips away to the rooftop to think, and Toru finds him easily. Still caught in his thoughts, Izumi asks what Toru thinks of him. Toru, annoyed by his shy face, answers bluntly that he doesn't like how close Izumi is to Kyuko, doesn't like his muttering, finds him freaky sometimes, and hates how Izumi is always so nice that Toru can't leave him alone. With his long hair and pretty face, Izumi is prettier than most girls, and Izumi's reactions are also annoying to Toru. Then Toru asks why Izumi still calls him by his last name, even though they're close now. Izumi tries to say Toru's first name but blushes, and the moment turns awkward for both of them. Izumi admits he's never called anyone by their first name before, and Toru calls him weird, which reminds him of his dark past, but says he doesn't hate him at all. In that moment, Izumi wishes he could go back and tell his younger self that everything turns out okay. The next day, because Shirata has started school, Kyuko has to become an early riser and arrive at school early. While lost in thought, Remi suddenly plops down in front of Kyuko, and acting overly friendly, she asks about her relationship with Izumi. Kyuko, caught off guard, says there's nothing going on. Then Remy gives a strange suspicious smile and declares she'll take Izumi, since there's nothing between them. Kyuko is confused by her statement, and Remy explains that since Kyuko is not dating Izumi, she wants to date him. Then Kyuko starts imagining Remy and Izumi together, and she can't accept it. She quickly tells Remy that Izumi belongs to her. Remy, unfazed, insists she'll still go for him, as Izumi isn't Kyuko's boyfriend so she can't claim him. That's when Kyuko stands up and says that she won't let anyone have Izumi. The rest of the day, Kyuko can't stop thinking about her own words, and about Izumi. Back home, Izumi drops by with cake, but Shota isn't home, and ever since he started playing outside more, Kyuko and Izumi have been spending more time together, and that day, they watched horror movies. Kyuko discovers that Izumi is a total scaredy cat, that even a ringtone makes him jump. Things escalate when the power goes out, and Kyuko calmly says it'll come back soon, and it does. Izumi feels embarrassed, but Kyuko keeps going to tease him, and she even lines up 5 horror movies to watch. Trying to change the subject, Izumi brings up Kyuko's hands, something Yuki mentioned in class. Yuki compared her hands to Kyuko's, and noticed hers were smaller. Toru joked that even compared to a guy's hand, Kyuko's are tiny. Kyuko placed her hand against his but warned him not to dare try holding it, unless he wanted a fingerless hand. Then, Izumi and Kyuko do the same hand comparison, and Kyuko makes the first move and holds his hand. When he grabs her back, she tells him she loves him, but quickly says that she loves his hand. Izumi knows what she really means, but doesn't push her. Instead he says he loves her too, and adds that he likes her hand as well. They both know it's not just about holding hands. Back at school, Rimi chats with Sakura about how Kyuko boldly claimed over Izumi. Rimi says she was just teasing, but it clearly triggered Kyuko's true feelings. Meanwhile, Toru overhears it all, and he feels conflicted. And that's how the video ends. I will be continuing the series, so make sure to like and to subscribe to not miss it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.